Welcome to Dynamos 2020 and a very different Dynamos from the norm. If you are a regular at Dynamos, it's been some time since we've met, but I'm hoping that through this video I can include many of the elements that we would normally have within Dynamos. If you're new to Dynamos and you've not been before, then I will try and lead you through all the different things that we're going to be doing. We're obviously in a very different situation now. So it's been necessary to do this video so that you can hopefully enjoy and keep up with some of the things that we were doing before. We've obviously not met for some time. We started the series in September and we've been working our way through the Bible from Genesis all the way through, and I'll explain a little bit more as to where we're up to when we get there in a few minutes time. The first thing that we always do whenever we have Dynamos is we do our Dynamos challenge. This year we've had a number of challenges. You'll notice from the visual there behind me, you can see that we've had a dice challenge, we've had a thumb wars challenge, we've had a stacking cups challenge, we have a higher or lower challenge, we have a rock paper scissors challenge, and we've got the one in the top left hand corner is called odd or even challenge. Now which one is it today? Let me see. So here we go. So the challenge today is odd or even. Now we have to do that slightly differently, so I'm going to explain the game to you, the challenge to you, for you to do at home. You do need a minimum of 2 people, so if you've got brothers or sisters or your mum and dad are at home, then rope them in to play the challenge with you. So let me explain how we play this particular challenge, odd or even. Now, what you need is a bit like rock, paper, scissors. You just need one hand, either your left hand or your right hand, whichever one. So choose one hand, and we are looking at 3 different numbers to use with that hand. So I'm going to put my left hand behind my back and use my right hand. So the 3 numbers are 0, which is a fist, 1, which is 1 finger, and 2 is 2 fingers. So what you're going to do is, just like with rock, paper, scissors, we're going to hold our hand behind our back and we're going to reveal after 3 our hand with either 0, 1 or 2. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. So I've showed a 0. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3. I've done a 2. 1, 2, 3. I've done a 1 this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to compete against each other. So it's one against somebody else. So when you count to 3, you're both going to pull your hand round, just the one hand, with either 0, 1 or 2 showing on your fingers. Now the winner of the round is the one who gets whether it was odd or even. Now that's quite a challenge to do, so I'm going to explain how we decide who is odd and who is even. So bearing in mind when your birthday is, so if your birthday is January, February, whichever month your birthday is in, then that will determine whether you're odd or even. And it depends on who your opponent is. So if you are going against your mum, and her birthday is in March and your birthday is in January, then the first birthday that comes in the year, that's the odd one, and the second birthday in the year of the 2 of you is the even one. So if yours is January and your mum's is March, you would be the odd number and your mum would be the even. Then there'll be no arguments over that one. So I'm going to leave you now to go and play the game. Why don't you pause the video for now while you go and play as long as you want to play with it. You can have a competition within your family, have a go at that, and then see who is your family champion on odd or even. So I shall leave you to do that. So pause the video and then come back to me. So in our normal Dynamo session, having done the Dynamos challenge, we would then move on to our Bible story. And we've had lots of Bible stories since we started last September. We've gone through the stories in Genesis, and we've moved into Exodus, and we've gone through the stories in Exodus and Deuteronomy. So we've done those first 5 books of the Bible. We have now got ourselves to the point that we're at, which is Joshua, and it's the story of Joshua that we're looking at today. So with a Bible story, what we would normally do if we were meeting in the upper room is I would be saying to all of you, make yourselves comfortable. Now you're at home, so I don't know whether you want to lie on the floor or you want to sit on a chair or on a settee, but for the Bible story I want you to make yourselves comfortable, and here we go. So this is the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho. After Israel were at Mount Sinai, they headed towards the land that had been promised by God to Abraham, the land of Canaan. They arrived in Midian, overlooking the land, and sent 12 spies in to check it out. But when they returned to camp after 40 days, 10 of the spies were scared and didn't think they could win the land. The other 2 spies, their names were Joshua and Caleb, trusted God, and they believed that they could, but the people wouldn't listen to them or even trust and obey God. What should have been a day's journey into the land actually took them 40 years because of their disobedience. 40 years later, Israel returned to the plains of Moab on the edge of the promised land. Now it was a new generation of people in Israel. Only Moses, Joshua and Caleb had survived from the previous generation. And even Moses had disobeyed God during the years of wandering. God promised Moses that he would see the land, but not enter it because of his disobedience to God. After Moses died, Joshua was given the leadership of Israel, with the task of leading them into the land to conquer it. God commanded him to be strong and courageous and to be obedient to everything God told him. He did follow all God's instructions. First of all, he split the land in half by attacking a city called Jericho. It was the main city in the land. Then he conquered the south before heading north and doing the same in the north. Finally, Joshua settled the people throughout the land by dividing it into 12 sections, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Joshua's military tactics for defeating Jericho were both incredible and miraculous, extremely strange, but also completely obedient to all that God told him. Can you imagine Joshua trying to explain this plan to the soldiers who were probably ready to fight, but instead having to do something very different? They were told that all they could do for a week was to walk around the city over and over. Joshua's generals and advisors may not have thought it was a good military plan, but Joshua knew the importance of completely obeying God. God's instructions were as follows. Joshua was to send the soldiers of Israel marching around Jericho once a day for 6 days. The priests were to go up behind the soldiers, blowing 7 trumpets of ram's horns before and in front of the Ark of the Covenant. Then, on the 7th day, they were to march around the city 7 times while the priests blew their trumpets. At the completion of this, they were to make a long, loud blast with their trumpets, and all the people were to shout. If they were obedient in doing all God told them, the walls would just fall down. Joshua and the people did everything that God told them, and the walls of Jericho did fall down. The soldiers entered the city and destroyed and burned everything. The items that were saved were the items of great value that were to be offered to the Lord as a thanksgiving. No one was to take anything for themselves. There, what an incredible story. Now, I'm going to do this video in several parts so that it's not too long, so you'll be able to do the Dynamos session in several parts at home. Now, before we move on, and later on I will do the next video that will talk a little bit more about what we've been learning and about the story of Joshua in particular. But before we do that, we're going to sing. So the song that we're going to sing, this is what we would normally do if we were in the upper room doing Dynamos. I'm going to give you the chance to do that at home. The music will play, the song will show, and the words will come up. And I want you to enjoy this song. We've done it a couple of times at Dynamos. It's called God's Love is Bigger. And it's lots of things that God's love is bigger than, and it's a wonderful love. So I'm going to let this play for you, and I want you to join in at home. Now, some of you might be quite active and energetic. If you want to do your own actions and freestyle, please feel free to do that. But enjoy this song and worshiping God, and it's God's love is bigger than a burger. Here you go.
God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? What about the stars? Is anything bigger than this? Big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? And what about the stars? Is anything bigger than this? Big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. Is this big love all big enough to handle all my doubts and worries? Is this big love all big enough to help with all my fears? Yes! Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that song, and it speaks, doesn't it? Fantastic, of God's love, huge love. And I bet Joshua and the people of Israel all those years ago knew just how big God's love was. Well, that's us finished for our first part. What we would normally do at Dynamos at this point is go into the hall and play a game. So why don't you take the opportunity to do some active activities of some kind at home? You might want to do some exercises. You might want to, perhaps if the weather's good, go out in the garden and have a bit of a run around. And then when you get the second video, you can then carry on what we're going to learn. And in that second video, we're going to do a little bit about the Bible summary words. We're going to do a little bit about the story of Joshua and the book of Joshua in the Old Testament. We'll do some of those things. So I hope you've enjoyed this first part. Part 2 will follow shortly. So go and have some fun and a bit of active fun out in the garden for now, and I'll see you soon.